All right, make sure I'm centered here. Good afternoon, good evening to all those joining us today. My name is Nloh Masango-Dibo. It's Law Like Law and Order. I am the director for the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion here at Miami University, and it's a pleasure and an honor to share this space with y'all. And today I'll just be moderating a conversation about Black Greek letter organizations here at Miami University. I am a member of one myself, Kappa Alpha Psi, so shout out to the bros there. But before we go into our actual discussion and see who we have on our panel, just wanted to give you kind of an overview about Black Greek letter organizations. And so they came about starting in 1906 with Alpha Phi Alpha. And it really came about because at the time, collegiate Black men and women were not allowed to even be a part of the fraternities and sororities on campuses. And so in an effort to build community, to make sure that we had the resources to support each other, to matriculate and gain that sense of brotherhood and sisterhood, the Divine Nine was formed. That includes, I already mentioned Alpha Phi Alpha, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. And so we have some members, respective members from Miami who represent these various organizations, and wanted to bring them on and have a discussion about just what Greek life has meant to them, what these organizations, the work they've been able to do in them. And so first I'd like to invite our members from Alpha Phi Alpha to the stage with me. And so we got brothers Chontae and Evan. And if y'all can just, go ahead and take it away and just let us know a little bit about your organization, about your chapter, and just the impact that it's had on your own experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Law. I can start. My name is Evan Anderson. I'm the current chapter president of the Delta Upsilon chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I've been a member since fall of 2018, and I've actually been the president since the past 2 years. So just talk a little bit about our chapter and kind of some of our accomplishments and kind of our presence on Miami's campus annually. So actually in 2019-2020 school year, we received the MPHC chapter Most Improved Chapter of the Year award. And I, as president, actually achieved the MPHC Most Outstanding Chapter President of the Year. We've also had some of my line brothers who came in with me have standed as the ASG president, student body president, among other leadership opportunities. Cabinet places as well. So we have a lot of leaders in our fraternity, and a lot of a good presence on Miami's campus as well. For me, some of the unique opportunities I've been presented with since I've been a member, actually even before I was a member as well, just kind of want to go into some of those unique opportunities that I have been presented with. So the first was my freshman year. I actually had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. Twice in my freshman year, and that was kind of led by one of our old alumni brothers, and so he kind of helped us get to D.C. And then I also had the role of the vice president of the Black Leadership Coalition, which is I'm also the president of that organization. So kind of gave me some leadership opportunities there. I've actually had the opportunity to be an intern in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, but now is known as the Center of Student Diversity and Inclusion. So I've been an intern there for the past 2 years, and that was another position that was held by some of the alumni brothers who kind of passed it on to me. We had the opportunity to travel to Toronto with our fraternity for a regional conference. And finally, the fraternity was a great help in assisting me into becoming actually finding my full-time job after post-grad. So just some of the opportunities I've been presented with, and kind of, the presence we've had on Miami's campus currently. Just kind of wanted to touch on those couple of things.
All right, Evan, I'll take it from there. First of all, I wanted to make sure that we thank everyone involved with this program for bringing us together to have this discussion. But I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate Evan and all his accomplishments, all his leadership activities. Applaud you, brother. You're a great beacon, not just for the fraternity, but for the students throughout campus, not just those that look like us, but those across the board. So congratulations on those accomplishments. As I mentioned, my name is Chontae Pennyman. I graduated from Miami in 2000 with my undergraduate degree in accountancy. It's a little different than what you see up on your screen. But I stayed for 2 years after that to get my M.B.A. in management information systems. So really my journey within Alpha on Miami's campus, I initially got exposure to Greek life, Black Greek life on Miami's campus, visiting my older sister, Diana Pennyman, who became a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha during her time at the university. Just seeing a lot of the work that they were doing on campus, being that little brother, hanging onto her coattails, just kind of following around campus and seeing a lot of the leadership activities she was involved in, but also a lot of the engagement that she had with other like-minded leaders. So that was what initially sparked my interest as a middle schooler, high schooler, coming around just following her footsteps. But more Miami exposure between my junior and senior year when I was able to participate in the Junior Scholars Program. And that wet my whistle, kind of tempted me to jump into that Miami candidacy. I initially thought I was going to go to an HBCU, but realized that Miami was a great school right here in our backyard. So wanted to go ahead and give it a try. Did some visits, talked to some people, and engaged with students there on campus. So had the opportunity to go ahead and enroll and become a member at Miami. But while I was there, first day being there, I was able to see the men of Alpha Phi Alpha really engaged, really involved in all aspects of student life, not just Black student life, but within the PWI, involved with all aspects. So that was something that really sparked my interest, coming from a background where, in all honesty, my school was 95% Black. So being able to step into a scene like this and see other men that looked like me succeeding was very inviting. So over that time, got to know them, ended up becoming a member of the organization in the spring of '98 with 5 other gentlemen, one of which whose birthday is today. Peace to Brian Berry. But really formed relationships that have carried beyond our competing for chapter of the year when we were undergrad, and being able to really get involved with BSAA, MPLP, the various leadership programs, really getting involved with a lot of leadership activities, just like what Brother Anderson said, but really taking that and building upon that to the point to where I'm still involved with my organization here in Columbus, Ohio, still competing for chapter of the year, just like we did back then, but really diving into that service aspect, that education aspect, and building the future leaders of tomorrow. So with that, I'll pause and allow for the next group to go, but just really thank you all for this opportunity to speak more about this great organization.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you both for sharing your stories, your perspectives, and I know we're going to chat with y'all a little bit later. But I think also something powerful in what Brother Sean mentioned, in getting to campus and seeing folks that look like him, that were moving, and that inspired him to get more active on campus. And I think that's a common thread you're going to see as far as why a lot of folks get involved with Greek letter organizations in the first place. Now, I would like to bring to the stage the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and so they can go ahead and share their experience as well.
I'm having trouble sharing my screen. I wanted to share something with you all, but for whatever reason, it is not coming up. So Emily, perhaps if you could help me with that. I'm Soror Carol Peery Ayers, and just wanted to kind of give you our story. Pamela Carter and I, Soror Pam and I, are going to give our presentation, and then Soror Jordan is going to finish up at the end. So Emily, if you have any suggestions for how I can do this, please let me know. All right. I know it's not showing the PowerPoint. That's the question. Okay, so anyway, I will begin. It doesn't seem that long ago that Soror Pamela Carter, Coleman, Soror Joe Brown Slade, Soror Sharon Brown Walker, Soror Linda Simpson Thompson, and I, Soror Carol Peery Ayers, wanted to start a chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at Miami University. Back then, there were only the Alphas and the Deltas. We wanted another choice, however, something different, something that represented who we were as women. After much resistance from Miami's Student Affairs Office, why would you want another Black sorority on campus? What's the problem? You have the Deltas. Isn't that enough? My mother, Soror Lorraine Peery, was Miss AKA. As a child, she would take me with her to sorority meetings, so it was clear that my mother had a plan for me. And that plan included the aforementioned young women as well. This was the inception of Uniquity, our line name. Our name was an understatement at best. We were 5 unique women with 5 different majors and definitely 5 different personalities. We joined together, however, as one and made the treks to Columbus each weekend to pledge through Alpha Sigma Omega chapter. Our Dean of Pledges, Soror Mary Clater, she was tough. But they were so excited and happy to pledge us, but we had to know our stuff. We would drill each other on the way there and try to keep Joe Brown awake on the way back. Freeze-outs, which were rolling down all our windows and screaming to the top of our lungs, always did the trick. We came back to Columbus in early May and crossed May 1st, 1976. So I'm going to let Soror Pam go on, and I'm going to try to figure out how to share my screen.
Good evening. I'm Pam Carter Coleman, class of 78, and then I got my master's in 1979. I'll continue our story. Our work was far from done, however. We knew there was a great interest to start a new sorority, and soon Genesis was conceived with Kimberly Caldwell, Valerie Raspberry Miller, Denise Shuttleworth, Verona Smith-Eaton, LaTanya Abercrombie, Gary, Inga Hargrove Dixon, Angela Young, Carolyn Young, Carolyn Cooks Brandon, and Shari Smith Johnson. Genesis joined Uniquity to charter the Lambda Mu chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated on May 7, 1977. Just to show how far the ladies of our chapter have come, initially we had a closet in the EOP office. Later we were given a closet in Minnick, and now Lambda Mu has its own suite in Richard Hall. Sharon Brown Walker served as the president of Uniquity, and I served as our first bachelor's after Lambda Mu's chartering. I went on to serve as bachelor's of my graduate chapter here in Washington, D.C., Romeo Omega, and I've held many regional committee positions over the years.
I served as Dean of Pledges for the Turner line. In fact, Seth's mother was on that line. In addition, while working in Miami's admission office from 1980 to 81, I joined Sigma Omega chapter in Cincinnati and served as graduate advisor to Lambda Mu. Pam. We are so blessed that our charter members are still healthy, and we're thankful for the contributions of our Lambda Mu Ivies beyond the wall. We love our Lambda Mu sorors, and they have all been a blessing to our lives. This is the rest of our presentation here. This is our mock, I'm hoping that the sorors still have it, perhaps not, but the annual mock Playboy Club was something that we did. It's probably not politically correct to have a Playboy Club anymore, but that was kind of our biggest contribution. In addition, we've had our reunions every 5 years since then. This was the 30th reunion. This was the 40th reunion. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it, nor was I able to make the chartering because I studied abroad that year. But this is our latest with the latest sorors of Lambda Mu. All right, so Sor Jordan.
Thank you for that. It was an amazing presentation. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jordan Thompson, and I'm a senior studying public health with a minor in fashion from Cleveland, Ohio. On campus, I am the modeling director for Miami University Fashion Design, a student employee in the Greek office, and the president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Lambda Mu chapter. I was initiated into the Lambda Mu chapter in spring 2019, and my experience has been nothing short of rewarding. It has been a great opportunity to network and develop my leadership skills, meet some amazing like-minded women who are now my lifelong sisters, and give back to the community in ways I never imagined. Some of my favorite things that we've done during my time in the chapter are volunteer with kids at the Booker T. Washington Community Center. We also made reusable feminine products for women in Haiti. And recently, due to the pandemic, we have been reading to students at Richard Allen Academy through Zoom. To highlight some recent accomplishments, we were awarded the 2020 Andrew Herman MPHC Chapter of the Year Award. I was awarded the 2020 MPHC Rising Leader Award, and our chapter had the highest GPA across the entire Tri-Council last semester. I'm very proud of the work and accomplishments my chapter continues to do, along with the rest of our MPHC chapters here. And I wanted to say thank you very much to everyone that worked to put this together. This program is amazing, and I'm really excited to hear from everyone else and see what they have to share about their organization and their experience. So, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all for sharing, and thank you for the history and the photos. I'm glad y'all still got that. And so with that, I would like to invite our next group, special group to me. And so if our brothers Doug Banks and Jason Steele can come on, introduce y'all to Kappa Alpha Psi, and they'll tell you a little bit about Miami's chapter, the organization, and just the impact it's had on their own lives.
Well, thank you. And greetings to you, brother Masango-Dibo. I'm Doug Banks. I'm a March 1979 initiate of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. I'm a charter member of Kappa Delta chapter, and currently I reside in Cleveland, Ohio, where I've served as vice president at the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, which I've enjoyed the privilege of working for the last 35 years. I'm going to go over a little bit of chapter history, and then I'm going to pass it over to Brother Jason Steele to bring you up to date where we stand today. So Kappa Alpha Psi was instituted January 5th, 1911, just 125 miles due west of Oxford in Bloomington, Indiana, at Indiana University. So as you can see that we have Midwest roots, and we grew from there. I can trace back the first presence of Kappa Alpha Psi on Miami's campus back to 1951. A transfer student from Howard University who was an Ohio native transferred to Miami University in 1951, actually to join the Air Force ROTC. He since went on to become a brigadier general in the Air Force. And one of the things he shared with us when he joined us for the 30th reunion on campus in Oxford was his desire to start a chapter back in 1951. And similar to the resistance that the AKAs presented, the Alphas and the Deltas were already in existence. And the thought was, why do you need another historically Black fraternity on campus when you have your choice of Alpha Phi Alpha? We can also trace back, there was another effort in 1957 and 1958 where 3 students from Miami University went to the University of Cincinnati and pledged to become Kappa men at the Beta Eta chapter of the University of Cincinnati. Again, they were not met with the being able to provide the impetus for creating a chapter. So then we fast forward to 1978 when 6 men gathered together, became interested with the help of James Biff Carter, who was actually Pam Carter's dad. And he came and wondered why there was no Kappa presence on the university campus, being this close to the center of the Kappa creation. That brought in the Dayton alumni, and through that effort fostered the chapter with the founding line New Breed that consisted of 6 men, 3 sophomores, 2 juniors, and 1 graduate student. Those men became the impetus for my interest in Kappa Alpha Psi, and I became on the second line in March of 1979, and from there became the polemarch. And my first order of business as polemarch was to ensure that we had an existence on Miami's campus by the creation of a charter, and that charter was bestowed on us April 26, 1980. You know, Kappa's history is very rich. It really goes back to the members and their involvement. One of the things that we did in my time was create the Office of in Associated Student Government, the Office of Vice President Minority Affairs. So the Kappas, along with others, championed, and one of our members became one of the first vice presidents of ASG. One of the things that we also championed, some of you that may be in the audience may be familiar with this, but maybe not the origins. And that was created during my time, and that was the Bridges program. So we presented a proposal to Miami University about how to really attract minorities from largely Ohio and the large cities in Ohio to come down. And our premise was quite simple. If they come to the campus and see how beautiful it is and see how it is accommodating for student life, they'll make a decision to stay and want to come in the fall. So with that, the Bridges program has been uniquely positioned as it's attracted hundreds of students and fostered the kind of spirit that folks wanted to be part of the Miami University campus. The other thing that I want to share with you is that Kappa Men, our motto is achievement. Over the years, we've given back. We've been part of all of the Black alumni reunions, the creation of the Black Alumni Advisory Committee. We've also championed a scholarship that we've created, and we've given over 40 scholarships in the last 10 years since 2011 to 40 students so that they can continue their education at Miami and go on to graduate. So we're quite proud of that. And I'm going to now pass it off to Jason Steele so that he can tell you what Kappa Man is doing on Miami's campus and continue the tradition of achievement on Miami's campus.
So my name is Jason Steele. I was a Spring 18 initiate of the Kappa Delta chapter. So I've been a member since my freshman year. So I've got to actually experience the growth of the chapter over all the years. We started off with a very small number where the members were, we had to take up all the positions between just 2 members. And now we've grown to had 7 members at a point, and then 9 members at a point, and now had 7 members. So I've just been able to see the growth of the chapter and grown throughout that. Many of the events that we've done have been centered around giving back to the community. One of the events is the Bond. We have kids from Bond Hill Academy come down, just show them the campus. They had the opportunity to eat inside of a dining hall, got to sit on Dr. Coates' lecture. And just get experience of what being in college is and give them something to aspire to early in their education. This past semester, centered around the recent election we had a voter registration event where we partnered with When We All Vote, a company in Cleveland, and they sent us a QR code. And what we did is posted it on our Instagram, and people had the opportunity to just scan that QR code to get registered in this monumental registration, just so everybody can have their voices heard and things such like that. So we just throughout my time here, we've just tried to do events and things that have impacted those around us, and just reach back and make sure that everybody's getting an opportunity to experience what college is like. And one of our recent accomplishments that we are very proud of is we've had multiple members in our chapter that made the dean list last semester. And then 2 semesters ago, we actually had the highest GPA out of all fraternities and sororities on Miami University campus. So we're trying to keep that model of achievement going, and I feel like we're doing a pretty good job. So I've been happy that I've been able to be a part of this chapter and see what we've been able to do over the years.
Excellent. Appreciate you both for sharing that. And also just a common theme that, we heard from the ladies before you, and I know something that we're going to hear all the way through is just this theme of trailblazing, of going against the grain for something you believe in. So definitely appreciate you for leading the way and continuing that legacy as y'all have been. So thank you. And so next, want to bring up our brothers from Omega Psi Phi. So Nathaniel Snow and Brother Kobe, if they can get on here. Excellent. And then if y'all could do the same, share a little bit about the history, your experience being in the organization and such.
Nathaniel, you're muted if you don't mind.
I got it.
There you go.
Just thank you for having us. I'm Nathaniel Snow, proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Tau Xi chapter. I attended Miami from the years of 1995 to 2000, and crossed Omega Psi Phi spring 98. However, when I got to Miami didn't have a chapter for Omega Psi Phi. So Tau Xi at the time was a metro chapter, which consists of students from Miami, UC, and Xavier. So just happened to join that organization. When I got to Miami, Miami had some great things going. While I was there, I was president of BSAA, members of MUGS, and a lot of things just involved in, just there's plenty. So, the things that we did then, it was just to try to unite the, Black students come together. We had some things that we had to resolve on campus, but we tried to come together and be a family. And we were a family. We were a family. And although we wore separate letters, we all can come together and on one accord, because the common goal was to just graduate and work towards our career objectives. So so over the years, Tau Xi was a metro chapter, and it was until recently with UC getting another charter, and Xavier in the future about to get another charter, Miami just took on Tau Xi. So now Tau Xi is recognized at Miami University as of January of 2020. So who I have with me, I have Kobe Burse, who is the current vice bachelorist, which is president of the chapter at Tau Xi. And he's just going to tell you some things that's going on campus right now and what Omega Psi Phi Tau Xi is doing.
I'm Kobe Burse, cross 618, Tau Xi Miami University. As of now, we're just working on our some more events to host. We did a adopt a block, which was like a cleanup before the weather came. So we were doing that. We also are in the works of having a game night, a virtual game night. We're trying to find people who still have a Wii system. So during the pandemic, we're just trying to figure out ways to still stay interactive with our community.
Mm-hmm. And just to piggyback, currently I'm the advisor of Tau Xi, and some other thing is they had rape prevention program when they brought in Miami University Police to come speak to young ladies, but it was all virtual because of the pandemic which we are in. So they're being, very active on campus and taking up some leadership roles. We have a couple of members who now, one of them is captain of the football team. So we're doing those things and just trying to move and continue to move in the right direction to keep up the tradition of excellence at Miami University. So, so that's pretty much really it. Over the years, we have a lot of I think we counted, we have like 42 men, because what we found out prior to 1985, students who had went to Miami who wanted to become part of Omega Psi Phi will have to pledge at Wilberforce University over at Upsilon chapter. However, because of when Tau Xi came into existence, the Metro chapter, so we have right about now, we have about 37 alumni that came through the Tau Xi Metro who attended Miami at one time or another. So, you know, we're a small chapter, but we're growing. And so with the foundation set and put in place, we have these young men going and aspiring to be great people. So that's it.
Appreciate y'all for sharing. And I think, Nathaniel, you touched on something important just by saying a lot of the folks, whether it was join Omega Psi Phi or any of these organizations, all came under one banner of community and trying to graduate. And I think that's just an important thing to reiterate. So thank you for that. And so next, we have the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta coming to join us, and actually alumni Dr. Jeanne Holmes. Okay, there we go.
Thank you so much. Once again, I am Jeanne Johnson Holmes. I was at Miami University mid-90s to late 90s, and I was initiated into the Zeta Mu chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in spring 96. So some of the people you've heard already were on campus at the same time that I was. And when Nathaniel said we had unity on campus, he told the truth. We didn't come in all the way already knowing that there was a lot of unity, but we had a lot of situations on campus that thrust us into that situation. So Delta Sigma Theta is a sisterhood dedicated to public service, and it has been at the core of what we are and what we do since our inception in 1913. You can tell a Delta by what she does. It's not about the colors that we wear or the letters on our chest. It's about what we do. And we have a 5-point thrust that's really the focus of what our public service is. But I want to just point out the Delta Sigma Theta. Our first act as a sorority was an act of defiance. It was an act of speaking up. It was an act of social justice. And that's what we really stand for. We were the only organization, Black Greek letter organization, to march in the women's suffrage movement in 1913. Unfortunately, because of segregation and just outright prejudice, we were put in the back of that line, but we stood against what Howard University told us we should do. We stood against what some of the people at the university and some of our charter members thought we should do. And we decided that standing up and giving a voice to a cause that was important to us was important enough to found who we are. We brought that same amount of vigor and speaking up to Miami University's chapter when it was founded. It started off in 1965 as a joint chapter between University of Dayton and Miami University. And then in 1969, we broke away and we were large enough to start our own chapter. So we were chartered in March, on March 29th, 1969. And since our inception, I think a couple of people have said already that it was only Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and it was Delta Sigma Theta as the only African-American Black Greek letter organization on our campus. And true to who we were, when the AKAs wanted to start a chapter, we fought with them against the university. And even when we, in the late 90s, the Sigma Lambda Gamma Latina sorority decided that they wanted to start what they call a colony. And we helped them during that time. So it's been a part of our root. It is a part of who we are in helping other people. When it comes to what my experience was on Miami's campus, I got to tell you, I had no intention of actually joining a sorority. I thought that I needed to just study. I had wonderful Deltas in my life. I had wonderful AKAs in my life, and I just didn't think that I had time to do this. But as I walked around Miami University's campus, there were a couple of people who stood out. Nicole Ward, Janelle Watson, Peery Ayers. These were phenomenal women. They were leading organizations. They had jobs with the university as resident advisors. They were great in academics. They were always being heralded as these mentors and these people that we should look up to. And it wasn't until I went to a couple of parties that I actually realized they were all Deltas, but they were so active in the other parts of the community that it made me think, you know what? If they can do it, I think I can. And I liked what the Zeta Mu chapter actually stood for. It wasn't all about Delta. It was how we as Deltas could give back and make our campus better for everyone. So my experience was that Deltas were leaders not only in our sorority, but all across campus. And we did a lot to make sure that there was unity. I also learned that you can tell a Delta by what she does. And the second was, we're really stronger together. When I first came on campus, I have to be honest with you, and over the years, there's ebbs and flows about friendships, but there wasn't a lot of unity when it came to the sororities. But we tried hard and we mended a lot of bridges that had been burned in the past. And because of some of the social injustice that was happening on our campus, we had to be unified. And we learned how to overcome some of those obstacles. And I'm so proud of our sorors along all sororities in the NPHC these days. I hear we're doing great things. The Zeta Mu chapter was recently awarded the highest GPA of all sororities on campus. I think our GPA was second highest among all fraternities and sororities on campus, but we continue to fight the good fight together with one another. And I am just so pleased that Miami is continuing this legacy of strength. Some notable Zeta Mu Deltas include Congresswoman Martha Fudge, who is now the HUD Secretary appointee under the Biden administration. We have Representative Joyce Beatty, who is, and I'm sorry, they're not Zeta Mu, but they are admirable and wonderful Deltas. We do have the CEO of Democracy Now!, who you've probably seen on CNBC or CNN, Yvette Simpson, who is a Miami alumna. She did not pledge our chapter, but she is a great supporter and she was a great friend while here. You see us in the political arena, you see us in the arts, you see us in business. Our chapter alone has several people who are vice presidents of diversity, equity, inclusion. We have executives at Amazon, we have executives at Kroger, we have executives even at PayPal. So I want to let you know that we come from good stock. We come from excellence, and Miami's NPHC campus and our environment is one we create leaders, we cultivate leaders, and we really try our best to cultivate unity. Thanks a lot.
Amazing. Thank you for that, and also for holding it down solo. Look, there's Zeta Mu for you. All right. But thank you very much. Next, I wanted to bring to the stage Ellis Rates from Phi Beta Sigma.
Thanks for having me, man. Very awkward doing this with no audience. Feels like I'm in a recording studio. But welcome everybody. Thank you all for having me. My name is Ellis Rates. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised. And I really just want to talk a little bit about, the history of my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, our history here at Miami, as well as what that means to me. So dating back to 1914, Phi Beta Sigma was born from a necessity that my founders saw in the Black community at the time. And as most people know, Black Greeks were born from being excluded from white spaces. And so we decided to make our own. And so you have to, give huge props and shout outs to, the Alphas and the AKAs for blazing that trail. And the reason that there are different fraternities and sororities is, because not all of them have, the same goals, values, things like that. And I want to make it very clear that I'm not saying this to say that, there is one better or superior or anything like that. It's just differences of how we get to the same goal, right? And so our organization was born based on the idea of inclusion and inclusivity. We champion that inclusive we, and we try to uphold that as much as possible. So fast forward to today, Phi Beta Sigma came to Miami in 2000 as an official charter. Our charter line crossed in 99, and then we were chartered in April of 2000. So that makes us one of the younger chapters on Miami's campus. And for me personally, I got to Miami in 2010. At that time, our chapter was inactive. There were no Sigmas on the campus. It was only Alpha, there was Kappa, and then there was AKAs, Deltas, and Zetas. And so I was one of those students who I mocked the Greek organizations all the time. They were easy to make fun of too. It was very easy. My sister was an AKA, and so she brought me around Greek organizations all the time. She brought me to step shows, she brought me to icebreakers and things like that. So I got to kind of see firsthand the public, the social side of what Greek life was. And I clowned it because it was silly to me. Like I was very, very much so I was not down with it at all. You know, it was very stump-the-arty to me. I was like, this is silliness. But that was mainly because of what I was exposed to, right? And once again, this isn't I'm not condemning anybody or anything like that, because one way or another, seeing Greek life in the Black community did inspire me to try to join it. However, I joined it for a very, very specific reason. And that reason was to shift the narrative around Black Greeks at the time. And it was a very, very specific time and a very, very specific narrative. And I didn't think that me joining a well-oiled machine would yield the same results as if I created a new legacy. And so I went looking for how the best way to make that happen was. And so when I learned about Phi Beta Sigma and their charter not being expired yet, I believe the last members were on campus in about 2004. So that meant by the time I was a freshman that spring, that was 2011. So the charter wasn't expired yet. So that meant we could try to recharter. And so that's exactly what me and a couple of other brave souls decided to do. We decided to set off on a journey to reclaim and revitalize a chapter that hadn't been around for almost a decade. And we succeeded. I crossed in 2012, and we still have a chapter today. Thank God for that, because it could very easily have just been our line, and then that would have been it. But so the reason that we did that is because we wanted to be the people's rep. When we say that, we mean that Sigma isn't about any sort of stereotype. Sigma isn't about fitting a mold or a box or being any certain kind of person. It's just about being a good man who believes in brotherhood, scholarship, and service. Those are our three base principles. And service, of course, is the most important to us. Our motto is culture for service and service for humanity, and that has always been something that we've stood on above all else. Sure, when I was in undergrad, did we throw parties? We did. Did we, compete in step shows and stroll-offs? We did. But more than anything, we pride ourselves on events such as Sleep Out for the Homeless, such as our fundraisers to give to charities like the Angel House down in Hamilton, as going to Cincinnati and Dayton and volunteering during their marches, during their community cleanups, things of that nature, because we don't really go in for the showy part of what Greek life was. For me, it was all about trying to make sure that these letters weren't something that I wear to show. It was more so about something that I used as a beacon to notify others that this was we were about service and we were about trying to change the community that we were in. Of course, Miami had its own culture and its own community that benefited in one way or another from having Black Greek organizations, but they were more so reliant on the others. And so I saw an opportunity to change the narrative around Black Greek life. And so that's what we did. And that's what I hope that we are continuing to do as we move forward. Fun guys, to be honest. mainly because we're not bound by any kind of strict requirements or anything like that. And I'm not saying that everyone else is either, but I believe that that's like a national, across the board. You won't be able to tell who's a Sigma and who isn't, because it's not something that we use to define us. We define what Sigma is by our actions, and I believe that our commitment to service, to excellence, and to brotherhood above all else speaks for itself. And that's really what we really want to, always champion. To me, it really helped me become a leader when I was in college. I was a clown. That's really what I like to do. I like to clown people. I like to have a good time. I like to entertain. But it wasn't until I, saw an opportunity to change a narrative and to, forge a trail that I really took it serious when it came to leadership. Leadership wasn't something that I really cared about until I joined Sigma. And so I can thank the Alpha Beta Kappa chapter for that, as well as Zyro for helping to show me what leadership means, show me what brotherhood and sisterhood means, and to kind of forge my own path and figure out who I was outside of the silliness. And that is the fastest 7 minutes you will ever see ever. Let us know if what we do after this.
No, you're good. I appreciate you sharing your story there. And I think Ellis mentioned something, quite interesting, and just his take on fraternity life when he got to campus. I know for myself, I went to University of Cincinnati. And so coming in, both of my parents are from Cameroon, West Africa. I'm the oldest. I had no older people that were like in Greek life or could show me the ropes. And so when I got to UC's campus, I was like, yo, who are these guys in the red? Who them, in the black? And so my concept for Black Greek life was distorted. But, I think it's a very common story that once you, become a little bit more active and you start to see, whether it's the things that you want to see in examples, or maybe you feel like there's something missing in how we tend to come together and find community in our organizations. So thank you for that. And then last but certainly not least, wanted to bring up alumna Kamiikia Alexander from the Zyro chapter of Zeta Phi Beta to share with us a little bit about your story, about what Zeta has done for you and such.
All right, thank you for having me and inviting us here. My time in Miami was from undergrad from 1996 to 2000. Also returned back in 2004 to get my master's in education, and I have a JD from the University of Cincinnati College of Law. Just in general, our overall organization, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, a community conscious, action-oriented organization, was founded on January 16, 1920 at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Our 5 founders set off to create an organization that was founded around the principles of scholarship, service, finer womanhood, and sisterly love. Like a lot of people who have presented today, I didn't know that I would be Greek when I arrived on campus. I was active in the community events, the Black community and the events on campus, but I didn't have a background of legacy in any organizations. But just interacting on campus, I fell in with my people. People that I could we had a lot of commonalities, and that was around about probably 1998, and there were 2 young women on campus who were Zetas through the Forest Park chapter, Pi Sigma Zeta. After meeting those young women, and then also other women who were interested in the organization, we were able to band together and crossed over into Zeta in 1999. I am a charter member of the Zyro chapter on campus. We chartered the chapter on April 28th of 2001. I have 9 other fellow charter members. And one thing I found interesting from the presentations of the other organizations it sort of brings to mind the theme that I think we all have as, you know, in the Black community of trailblazers, and then those individuals creating progress for others, because our introduction to the Miami campus was, you know, we were definitely supported by the university and by Greek Affairs, as well as embraced by the rest of the community, which I'm sure was everyone else's experience as well. But we were chartered in 2001. We actually, this year, we will have our 20th anniversary as a chapter on campus. And it's just been pretty amazing to sort of look back and see how far the chapter has come since the time that we have chartered the chapter. When we first started, we had some events that were our signature events. And that was one of them that comes to mind is my own Sands, Anaya McMurray. And we had a speak on it, which is a poetry competition. So that's one thing that I remember and we enjoy from that time. And then also the soul food event on campus. I know now that they have some other events that have become signature events. They have an event that they did with the Delta Zeta Mu event called Heels. I think that was a dancing sort of event. And then Z Harmony, which I thought was kind of neat. It was a dating sort of show event. And so the chapter is still very active on campus. And, you know, our experience was, we wanted to bring something else different to the campus. And it was a lot of hard work, but I will say that I think that even though we came in without a template for what we should do, we were able to get a lot of support from the AKA chapter and the Delta chapter and just MPAC in general to support us in, you know, making a mark on campus. And we were able to do that. And it's been great to see that happen. I will say that, you know, what I learned as far as my experience with the chapter, I definitely learned leadership skills, as everyone has brought up, and I think that's very important, especially when you're chartering a chapter. We had to just start from scratch and make things happen. So that was definitely leadership in action. I'll also say that for me, at that time, the young women that I came in with, 3 other women, they were much smarter than I was and much better students as well. And so one thing I learned, I think, was like a collective responsibility, because I really wanted to make sure that, you know, it wasn't my GPA that was pulling us down. And so I became a much better student from that. My grades from the time that I joined the organization forward were much better than they were in the beginning of my journey. And, you know, they've always just been supportive. And we all have long-lasting relationships that have sort of transcended generations. You know, now I can say that the young women who are in the organization are the same age as my oldest child, who was also in college. So, but we're still able to sort of sit down and have conversations and relate to one another. And I think that speaks to the resiliency and just the legacy that was built with the chapter. So it was a great experience that I had there at Miami, and it's been a pleasure to see that continue on today. So.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. And at this point, want to invite everybody back on screen and have a little bit of question and answer time. Pick your brains, get to know a little bit more about y'all and your experience. Excellent. All right, and so we do have some questions from folks. I know we don't have a whole bunch of time, so I'm going to try and maybe summarize, mix up these questions, and I'll throw them to some of y'all to answer. And so want to start off with just how and a lot of you touched on this. And so how have the Miami Black, how has your Black Greek experience impacted you in your own life? And whether that's from your own organization, the community around you that helps support the mentors, it goes deep. But what has been that impact in your own life from your organizations? And if we can have Kamiikia start us out, and Brother Sean, you can take it from there.
Sure. I mean, the impact from the organization, like I said, just developing friendships and sort of having those connections to reach back to. One of our Zyro sorors is the first Black female dean of students at Kent State University, and we're extremely proud of her and her achievements. And we have attorneys and service members and people who are serving as frontline physicians in this battle with COVID, and teachers for sure, and so many just really amazing women. So that's one thing that has been a support and a foundation for me, is just the sisterhood. And I treasured that from, as gaining that from the organization. And yeah, that's what I would say.
And just to add to that, I think some of the aspects of the Black Greek experience, specifically my walk within Alpha, was one of discovery even after I became a member. So I already spoke about some of that, some of those images that I saw before I became a member, but seeing such men as Joseph Cox, Brother Crutcher, seeing those men operating in those spaces and what they did quietly without any sort of ask for accolades or recognition for what they did, not only for the organization of Alpha Phi Alpha on the campus, but all the Black Greek organizations that you currently see there on Miami's campus. There was a point in time where the Alphas were one of the only organizations that had a university-owned facility that was just for them. There was an Alpha House, but we worked with Brother Cox and was able to make it so that the brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi had a house right next to us at the top of Fraternity Row, and just the symbolism, the symbolic view of seeing that at the top of Fraternity Row and have such men as Joseph Cox and one of my own mentors, Bill Madison, just knowing the power of those two and have them be able to look out their windows and see the pride of having those two sitting right there at the top of Fraternity Row. I mean, there's so many experiences like that, but I'll stop there. I know I can ramble on forever, but it's just an overwhelming experience that I'm very grateful for.
No, that's beautiful, and I think that ties me into my next question, and I want to throw this to Brother Banks and the Sister Peery. When we talk about community, right, and just how the community had to support each other. So Miami University is known as the mother of fraternities and sororities in Greek life. Yet, especially for y'all two organizations, you had to fight to even have a place within that scope. Can you just speak to what is that impact of how the community, the Greek community on campus, helped you be able to charter your chapters, to continue a legacy in the face of even an administration that wasn't really having it, right? What was that like?
I'll start off. I was going to say, back then, and that was in the 70s, late 70s, things were very segregated. I mean, segregated in that, certainly we lived in the same dorms as everybody else, but our social life was totally segregated. And so, we partied, we had dances on the weekend, and they were our dances. And so when we, started the sorority, people thought we were just kind of crazy, like you should be happy with what you have. And so just that kind of helped us build character and determination and, just sisterhood. I mean, we really did form a strong bond of sisterhood. I mean, like, for example, and I'll make this really fast, but I was the only Black resident of McBride. And Pam and all the rest of them, Linda Simpson and Joe Brown, they were all in they were all in South Quad. So except for Caldwell, who was over in, I forget the name of her hall, but that was in East Quad also. If we hadn't gotten together or saw each other on the weekends, I would have never even known that they existed, and they definitely wouldn't have known I existed. So I think we really formed a strong sisterhood. Just with that, you know, with fighting together is what I'm trying to say. Pam, you have anything to add to that?
Okay,
Pam's having technical difficulties. She's being pretty on the camera. Sorry, Doug, you go ahead.
Yeah, and let me build on the
would you
points
say
that,
you have to remember, and
okay, go
we're
ahead, Pam.
definitely dating ourselves,
I'm sorry, Doug.
that
Go
this, yeah, this was the time when Roots first came out. And so I think that the university was afraid of unrest or afraid of what might happen. And so because all of this was going on at the same time, I think there was a lot of fear on the part of the administration. But it was also a way to pull us together, and that's what the EOP office did. And so having that bond and that sisterhood, or actually all Greeks together, and you can of course see it now with all of the Pan-Hellenic getting together to put Sora Kamala Harris in office. But it really was, as Carol said, a very, very difficult and very segregated time, and a segregated mindset from the administration.
I do want to say one more quick thing. We all kind of met each other by being Alpha Angels. And so I don't even know if you all have Alpha Angels anymore. It's probably totally an illegal organization. But that's kind of how we all met. And that was a subservient group. It was social, but it was a little subservient. So, but you know, that's how we got to know our Alpha brothers.
And Brother Banks.
All right, thank you. And let me build on some points that the sorors of AKA, and they were just ahead of me. So I looked up to Carol Peery and Pam Carter. They were big sisters to me. They guided me through, and I certainly appreciated all the help that they extended out to us as students, as Black students, but also as young aspiring Greek organization. I was on the second line. I've been a life member of Kappa Alpha Psi since the day I crossed. I've been financial ever since and been very engaged. I think in terms of working with the Greeks, and our advisor was an Alpha man. So, you know, while there was a couple of Kappas that were on the administration, they weren't really involved with us at that point in time. So we certainly appreciate Larry Young in terms of what he did to help and guide us through these turbulent times. But because of that segregation, I know there was a question that was asked about, is there anything special to us? Well, we had all our parties in the basement of dormitories. So that's where we were, basements of Minnick Hall and Hamilton Hall, and that's all we were relegated to. We didn't have places that we could go to. So we make do to whatever was available to us, and we maximize that opportunity. And we had a great time. And I can tell you that from my experience, going back to the previous question, I crossed in March, and Miami got out the first week of May. So we didn't have a lot of time before school let out, but I was ushered to a regional conference for Kappa Alpha Psi in Dayton, Ohio, a couple weeks after I crossed. And my first meeting was with the national president of Kappa Alpha Psi, who was a chief legal counsel and attorney for the Federal Reserve Bank. And you think of the shadow of the future. I've been working at the Federal Reserve for 35 years. To be able to meet him as a young man, and then find that we are contemporaries at the Federal Reserve, and meet him once again in the Federal Reserve setting was awesome and awestruck. And that was facilitated by the alumni members in Dayton, Ohio, who made it a point to ensure that I got off on the right foot, that I met the professional men that could help me in my career, that really provided a true example, because at that time, we didn't really have a lot of that. I mean, Joe Cox certainly was there, and he was a good example for all of us. As I mentioned, Larry Young, and there was a very, very select few. But it became the underpinnings of how we were able to coexist, to be successful, in the words of Kappa, to achieve and persevere to graduate. So we were all there for a purpose, and that's help each other to graduate and stay the course.
Thank you. And so a common, I guess, quote or phrase is, especially when looking at our Black organizations, is you get out what you put in, right? As far as the work, the effort that goes into not only first being initiated and crossing, but upkeeping the legacy and moving that forward. And so for D. Ellis and Dr. Holmes, wanted to get your take on what are some examples of the work you put in and how that impacted, you or those around you later on in life.
Yeah, thank you. That's true. Like, that's not even like a myth at this point. What you do definitely defines how far you go, right? There is no easy path ahead. And so for me, that quote embodies, how I learned how to become a professional. As I mentioned during my speech, I was still am, but I was a knucklehead kind of student. I was just kind of running around the yard, having fun. All I cared about was fun. I didn't care about infrastructure. I didn't care about, setting myself up for success. I didn't care about, what I was going to do after college until I became Greek, and those things became very apparent that that's what I needed to be focusing on. And so because I had a necessity, I was, kind of thrust into leadership. I had to be the president. I had to, serve on the M.B.A. council. I had to, be an ambassador for the, the Pan-Hell, Inters Council that we had, and all these things. Because of that, I kind of had to learn to, how to conduct myself, how to, I had to learn Robert's Rules of Order. I had to learn how to balance a budget. I had to learn how to, book a room, and all of these things that I didn't have to know before. And because I had to develop these skills very rapidly and put in that hard work to kind of figure out how to do this thing, it was easier for me to impart that knowledge and that wisdom onto those that came after me. It was something that I was able to be a resource for students who, weren't in Greek organizations, or, were just in clubs and different groups on campus. I was able to be someone that they could go to. And that's kind of what I wanted to do from the beginning, is I wanted to be a resource. I wanted to be someone that people could rely on. But I wasn't able to do that from the beginning. I had to go through, the trials and tribulations of learning the ropes before I could, teach them to somebody else. And so by putting in that hard work, I was able to then become what I actually wanted to be, which was, a resource for others.
And I know we're running out of time, but just really quickly, when it comes to putting in what you want to get out, it really rings true in everything. I was on Miami's campus when we had a lot of issues going on. A lot of issues, and we had to do sit-ins. We had to do a lot of organization to get our voices heard on campus. And what we put into the sorority, what I put into in order to learn things like what D. Ellis pointed out, Robert's Rules of Order, understanding how administration actually works, what's the chain of command, understanding some of the politics behind it, actually set us up for more success than we even thought we could ever have. And in all honesty, it has helped put me in a trajectory and a path for my career that has allowed me to help organizations. It has allowed me to help myself in becoming, building some expertise in these areas of conflict management, understanding organizational politics, as well as mentoring and helping others. So anytime you go into an organization and you're just looking for what can it do for me, you've already lost. What the beautiful thing is about our organizations is the more that you give, the more that you get. So thanks for that question.
Excellent. I'm mad I even got to follow that up. But I just want to thank all of you for sharing your insights. It's such a wealth of knowledge just amongst a few of us on this panel here. And I think it just goes to show what can happen when folks who have walked this path reach back and share that knowledge. So thank you to all of you. We stand on the shoulders of giants. So I hope you don't take that lightly. And so want to close out the program with just 3 words or less. Okay, everybody, 3 words. Now, y'all hear me because I know some of y'all storytellers. All right, 3 words or less. Your favorite undergrad Greek moment at Miami. This is how we're gonna close it out. Okay, 3 words or less. I'm coming to Brother Banks first.
Oh, definitely the step shows. We used to twirl them canes, brother.
Perfect, perfect. Let's go with Sister Pam. Uh-oh.
I would say being chartered.
Brother Sean.
Probably something less formal. The Black Greek cookouts. Got a picture of Kamiikia and everybody in there. So
y'all giving me ideas. Let's go, Dr. Holmes.
Western Lodge parties.
The Ellis.
Oh man, this is so difficult. I have to say the 2014 Yard Show. It's on YouTube. Look it up.
There you go. And then you're gonna bring us home, Kamiikia.
I am going to say Withrow Court parties, because that's where a lot of the parties used to take place back in that time.
I see I was kicking it. We didn't do that at UC. We were studying. And then to close us out, Sister Peery.
Okay. Singing chapter song.
Perfect. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you learned something. And until next time, y'all have a great evening.